Hey Crestwood, happy Wednesday to you. Hope you all are doing well. I am so thankful for each of you and the opportunity to be your pastor and the opportunity to bring you this devotional on this Wednesday, February 12th. It may not surprise you to think that what's on my mind today is love. We're a couple days from Valentine's Day, and I hope you have a community and people with which you can celebrate the gift of love that we have been given. You know, it sounds like such a simple concept to love one another, and yet in this world today, it seems very difficult. But it's not just in our world. Back in Jesus' time, in Paul's time, they said a lot about what it means to love, especially thinking about how Jesus calls us to love our enemies and how Paul spends a whole chapter in 1 Corinthians explaining what God's love looks like. I was reading that chapter today, and I wanted just to share that with you again, a portion of that, 4 through 7. And I want you to listen to it, and I want you to think about which part of this is hardest for you right now. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious. It is not boastful or arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable. It keeps no record of wrongs. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. That's what it looks like to live with God's love. Now, as you think about that, let me read the Message in its translation of those same verses. And again, think about, where are you leaning into love right now, and where are you challenged to love this way? It says, love never gives up. Love cares more for others than for self. Love doesn't want what it doesn't have. Love doesn't strut, doesn't have a swelled head, doesn't force itself on others, isn't always me first, doesn't fly off the handle, doesn't keep score of the sins of others, doesn't revel when others grovel, takes pleasure in the flowering of truth, puts up with anything, trusts God always, always looks for the best, never looks back, keeps going to the end. Man, that is a very tough prescription to live out as we live with the relationships we have in our lives, as we interact with people with whom we disagree. It can be really tough to live the kind of love that God calls us to live through 1 Corinthians 13. Personally, I sometimes struggle with the puts up with anything. We all have our limits as to what we'll put up with. Always looks for the best. Man, sometimes I struggle with somebody and see what they're doing and just am not willing to give them the benefit of the doubt because of what they believe or how their actions influence others. So this chapter constantly convicts me and calls me to be the person that God created me to be, to love the way that God created me to love. It seems like in this world today, we more focus on all the reasons we shouldn't love someone than to look for the reasons that we should. And as Martin Luther King said, to the effect, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. If we continue to build on each other's hate and disdain, then we'll never get back to the foundation of love to which we are called to be. So how today can you find a way to love someone that you don't feel is lovable right now because of what they said, what they've done, what they've posted? How can you find a way to continue to love that person? Now, it talks about how love does so in truth, right? That we are called to continue to not keep record of wrongs, but to rejoice in the truth, but to do so in love. And so today I want you to think about, what does it mean to love that way? What does it mean to focus on even one verse in this passage and say, today I'm going to focus on how love never gives up, or I'm going to focus on how love never looks back, and just let that be your focus for the day. Pick the way that you want to love today. And then tomorrow, maybe pick another way. And as we grow more and more in the way God calls us to love, the more we reflect God's love into this world, a world that so desperately needs to have love to win over the hate that is around us. God calls us to be love, and we are made in the image of God, and 1 John tells us God is love. So if we are made in God's image, then that means we are made to love, always imperfectly, but to love the way that God loves us, which is unconditional. So I want to encourage you to keep finding ways to love others in a way that reflects God's love in this world, because this world needs it. God bless you, Crestwood.